friends, welcome back to Not Again, the podcast that brings college-level analysis to preschool-level content. I'm one of your hosts, Rebecca.
And I'm your other host, Alan.
And this is such a wonderful, special episode because you're hearing this about... how long does it take me to edit? Like an hour and a half? So you're hearing this about an hour and a half to 2 hours after we record. And it's all my fault. Yesterday we had a nice window to record and I was zonked. So we couldn't. Sorry. That's why you're listening to a late episode, though. Today we're talking about Tayo the Little Bus and the spin-off of Tayo the Little Bus, Titipo. Apparently there's two of them. When I Googled it for a wiki, the Titipo wiki is just part of the Tayo wiki. So like, I was like, okay, Titipo, and Google.
It didn't even deserve its own wiki.
No, because it's like apparently a part of the Tayo world.
The Tayo extended universe.
The Tayo extended universe, which is amazing. And Google didn't even quite know what I was talking about. It was like, do you mean... I was like, nope, really, Google. I mean Titipo.
Is it like an onomatopoeia, like the clickety-clack down the track sort of thing?
I didn't look that up. I did look up what Tayo means in Korean, because this is a South Korean show, and apparently it means ride. I assume the verb, like to ride, but it could also be like a ride. Either one, it's a punny name, right?
Yeah.
Because you ride a bus.
The bus, yeah.
What can I tell you about Tayo? Well, first I will, because I assume that our dear listeners, I guess. I think we have 2 fans by now, maybe 3. Thank you for existing. Oh, that comes later. I assume that our listeners have not heard of this show or seen it, and so I'm going to try to do as much background info as possible. If you somehow are still listening, even though you listened to our first few episodes, including our first episode, actually, you will have heard us mention Titipo and Tayo a few times. I don't know why you're still here if you listened to that garbage first episode, but thank you. Thanks for having faith in us. I'm still literally glowing after being told that our show could be on Max Fun. I nearly died and went to heaven right there. It can't be, but I want it to be. I want it to be good enough for them.
The fact that someone was so wrong but still felt...
But had that faith in us.
Had that faith in us.
Yes, I loved it. I was so happy. I suppose I should probably actually shout that person out, but I don't have their name. So
they may not want to be named in
exactly.
person.
I didn't ask, but thank you if you're listening. I appreciate that. But here's what I have. I took some screenshots of the Tayo wiki to give people some background. And we are going to be saying our favorite word, sentient, a lot in this one. Tayo, the Little Bus, is a South Korean computer-animated television series created by these things. It doesn't matter the companies, right? It began airing in South Korea in 2010, and an English-dubbed version of the series began airing on Disney Junior Asia in 2012. I didn't know there was a Disney Junior Asia. I didn't. And there's Disney Junior Australia, New Zealand as well, which is it aired there in 2013. And then in the United States and Canada, Hulu is the exclusive distributor, which is interesting because the 2nd and 3rd season is on Netflix, and that's where we've seen it. I don't know when it reached us, our shores.
I don't know. It's mostly on Netflix now.
Well, apparently Hulu's the distributor, and I didn't even know that. But Netflix snagged a couple seasons of this amazing show.
It must not have been very expensive to snag.
And I want to put a disclaimer right up at the front. I don't blame the country of origin for any kind of weird show. We have a lot of weird shows coming out of America, too. We talked about how Corey Carson is American, right? I'm not saying this show is weird because it's Korean. It's a weird show that happens to come from Korea.
Also, I'm assuming quite a bit gets lost in translation.
Yes.
Because I'm assuming they don't really care so much about getting accurate translations. Yeah. They're just the buses, they're talking, your kids will be entertained.
Yes. I mean, they're correct about that. It's weird to adults, but it's a perfectly decent kids show. Warren loves it. That's why we're talking about it, because we've seen it so much. He's still watching it. It's fine. Although we will have to talk about some cultural differences, I think, when we talk about certain jokes that they make that seem to be what their idea of kid-friendly, whereas in America it's oh no, we're too puritanical for that. So we will talk a little bit about cultural differences, but with no bias one way or the other. We're not going to be ours are right or anything like that. The series is about 4 buses in a city populated with anthropomorphic vehicles. Tayo, who is bus 120, Rogi, bus 1000, Lonnie, bus 02, and Gani, bus 1339. And Lonnie and Gani, why didn't they name them something? Anyway, Lonnie's that girl bus, I think.
Oh, yeah.
And then Rogi's the one I hate. which sucks. I hate Rogie. The voice actor, the American voice actor, or at least the English voice actor that they got for him, his voice grates on me, and I think that Rogie sucks. But I hate that because naturally, the one bus name that Warren seems to know is Rogie. He's repeating a lot more words now, and when he watches Peppa, he says Daddy Pig, and Daddy Pig's home and stuff like that. And he apparently learned how to say Wogie. And at first I was like, it sounded like he was asking for a Wookiee. And I was like, did he know that we started calling Ari Chewbacca? Like, what? How do you know that Chewbacca's a Wookiee, though? You haven't seen Star Wars yet. And then it slowly worked out in my mind because he was going, where's Wookiee? Where's Wookiee? And I was like, oh, God, it's Rogie. He's asking for the bad one.
He's asking for the worst bus.
That's like watching Teletubbies and asking for Poe. I don't actually know what the worst Teletubby is.
I don't know either.
I assume this is the Teletubbies of Buses, right?
Oh, yeah, they've got 4. There's colors.
Yeah, pretty much. And they're obnoxious to everyone but children. Each episode in the start, middle, and end features a brief narration. It has 5 seasons, a spin-off series to Tayo known as Titipo premiered between the main series' 4th season and 5th season. Titipo focuses on the titular character named Titipo. How many times can I say Titipo?
The titular character, Titipo. Yeah, that's like a tongue twister.
Yeah, a young passenger train, because trains have age.
Yeah, well, Tayo is the little bus.
Yeah, exactly. He's a kid. The show is named after, along with all his train friends. And this is like, I call it the South Korean Thomas the Tank Engine because it's the exact, it's the same premise, right? There's like the old dude who tells them where to go.
Mr. Conductor or whatever.
I don't actually know I know that he's Mr. Herb in Titipo. I don't actually know the dude's name in Thomas the Tank Engine.
Yeah.
That show passed me by, honestly. Warren's watched a little Thomas, and one day if we run out of ideas of things to talk about, we can hit up Thomas or whatever for some ideas. I guess it sounds like I'm going to call up Thomas the Tank Engine.
I think there's so many different Thomas and Friends and Thomas the Tank Engine's versions at this point that I'd be a little confused.
He watches one that is like Super Wings, where Thomas has to go around the world and meet trains from other parts of the world.
There was one that seemed a little bit more avant-garde than the rest. Normally it's just a face on a train and a train on a track, but it was doing weirder stuff.
Yes. Now, I don't have notes other than that, just kind of introducing it. There are some main characters. We're going to start with Tayo.
I want to start with the theme song a little.
Yes. Oh, for sure we're going to get there. But what I meant to say was the show Tayo.
Okay.
Because that one came first.
Yeah.
It makes more sense. So the one question I have for you is, do you remember how Tayo entered our lives? Because was it me? Did I just see? I think I saw a bus, literally a bus.
Yeah,
on the Netflix
the
preview
Netflix
icon thing.
Yeah, so we had a Netflix Kids profile.
Yeah.
For Warren,
and knew that he liked buses.
And yeah, either you or I just clicked it because fine, it's a bus.
Because I know Super Wings he first saw at Grandma's house.
Yeah,
but I swear Tayo was my fault.
Okay.
But I don't remember exactly.
I'm happy to blame you.
You're happy to blame me?
Yeah.
You're okay with that? Okay, so I'll take the blame for that one. So Tayo is blue. I know that. He's light blue. And the theme song, who knows what it is in South Korean, right? They make new theme songs. Like the Digimon theme song is so different in the Japanese version versus the English version. So they're very different. So the theme song in the English language version, obviously we're only talking about the English language version. Well, what do you want to say?
Well,
I think you want to say the same thing I do, and I've been talking
There's a couple of things. It's Tayo. He's a friendly little bus.
Yes, he's super friendly.
And he speeds up and he slows down.
Yes.
But the lyric that hits me the most is he's not afraid of anything.
So we actually do have different lyrics we want to talk about.
He is afraid of so many things,
He's
though.
so fearless, except for when he encounters something he's scared of.
It's in the theme song. He's not scared of anything, I think is the lyric.
Yeah.
But that's just a lie, my friends. That's just not true.
Tayo is a very terrified little bus.
He's a terrified little bus.
He's always going, hold on. Yeah, Tayo is a friendly little bus. So we're going to talk about that one. He's not scared of anything ahead. So, yeah, he's not scared of anything ahead, but even when it's dark and scary, he's not alone, which is true.
Yeah,
but
he has friends.
He's not scared of anything, but the next line indicates that there are scary times. But he has friends, so there's nothing to dread, but they do dread a lot of things. Really.
Yeah, he's scared of many things ahead.
So here's my thing. So yes, you're absolutely right, and I love that lyric. But my favorite lyric is speeding up, slowing down, because some dudes got in a room to write a theme song for a bus, and they went, well, what do buses do? And they were like, not much. They sometimes drive over bumpy terrain, and sometimes it's windy, windy, probably windy or straight.
Yeah.
And sometimes they have to slow down to pick up passengers. So speed up, slow down.
Speed up, slow down isn't even right. It should be like stopping at bus terminals. That's like, you don't just slow down like near bus terminals. You have to actually stop there.
Every vehicle speeds up and slows down, hopefully. Otherwise, you got something going very wrong. So I just found that funny. They're like, he does vehicle things.
Bus things, they're not paying us for this.
Sometimes he goes down roads that are a little bit twistier than other roads. They're not paying us. So they just captured some songwriters and they were like, we'll feed you and let you go if.
It's like, we've got a bucket of Kentucky Fried Chicken and you're going to write a theme song for this bus show.
Yeah.
And it's going to be your legacy because everyone's going to hear it.
Yeah. And you know how I like the Super Wings theme. So it's like, Jet, you got to go deliver some packages. This is definitely a super cool thing to do, but it's really just package delivery. And then in this time, it's like, it's more of like a tinkly, friendly, like preschool style song. Don't listen to it, please. If you find yourself in a horrible situation where someone is threatening your life and tells you, listen to either the Titipo theme song or the Tayo theme song and I'll let you go, choose the Tayo theme song. This is a very specific situation, but we found ourselves in it many times. Choose the Tayo theme song, not the Titipo one. But other than that, don't listen to it. I won't even cut it in here. And I try not to cut in too many times because, as I've said, I'm not really good at that video editing thing, so I don't really know how to record. Like, you heard the choppy nature of the Beauty and the Beast clips, but I couldn't help it. By the way, I did go back and find, I'm telling you this because I don't know if you listened to our podcast yet. But I did go back and find the Gaston line where she was like, he's not a monster, Gaston, you are. Did you hear that part yet?
No.
Okay, so I just wanted to let you know that I got it a little bit wrong. He says the monster has her under his spell. I think she even cares for him. And then she goes, he's not a monster, Gaston, you are. But the proper response would have been like, yeah, I do care for him. Something to reply to the care for him bit, not the monster bit. So I was right. Anyway, I just like being right so much. Theme song, yes. So yes. We spent 10 minutes talking about the theme song. I don't have notes for this because I figured we would just go over some episodes. Now, is Tayo's the one? Yes, because Rogi dresses up like Sherlock Holmes. So Tayo's the one that we've already talked about, the fire episode where the little girl was prank calling the fire.
Oh, yes, prank calling the fire department.
I can't remember which episode we talked about that in, though, which is very upsetting. I think maybe one of the Secret Life of Pets 2 ones? I'm not sure.
Maybe. Okay.
But we did go over it at some point. Maybe a Super Wings episode. Yes, it was one of the Super Wings episodes.
Okay.
So find the Super Wings episodes. There's 2 of them, and listen to those if you want to hear this story. But it's absolutely amazing. It's the best episode ever of this show. It's just this little girl prank calling the fire station, and then her mother and brother get trapped in a burning house, and she thinks the fire station will not send any fire trucks because she's prank called them too many times. And their mother and little brother are just standing at the window yelling, help! Anyway.
For kind of a long time, too.
So actually, I'll tell you this, for a long time. Yeah, it's really, really horrific. Like, if I'd seen that as a kid, I would have been traumatized. I will tell you this. In the episode, we did talk about it, which I, again, think is the Super Wings episodes. We decided to leave the ending of this episode a mystery, although I said everything was fine. But basically, the fire truck still showed up, and they were like, it's our job to respond to calls. We would never leave anybody, even if we thought you were joking. That's why it's so important not to prank call. And, I found a lesson. Don't prank call emergency services.
I don't really know if they got that lesson through, though.
But even if you do, they'll still show up for you.
Yeah, I mean, the kid, in the Big Bad Wolf, the kid doesn't make it.
The boy who cries wolf.
Oh, whatever.
Yeah.
My version's modern.
Oh yeah, the Big Bad Wolf is just from the Three Little Pigs. The boy who cried wolf. Yeah, he doesn't. The wolf just eats his sheep. No, he doesn't eat him though. I don't think.
I don't know.
I think the boy survives for his shame. He must encounter the shame of losing all his sheep. That is one hungry wolf. How many sheep did it eat? And also sheep. Wolves hunt in packs, right? Anyway.
Hey, I
don't remember what you're gonna say, but the boy.
No, but they just there's no lessons. We will always be there for you.
Yeah. So, emergency services are good, kind-hearted people, and you should always call them when you have an emergency, but don't prank call them. That's the lesson. If you hear a different sound for our I Found a Lesson sound, it's because I totally stole the old one for my YouTube channel, and I am not sorry. It just worked too perfectly for my new intro bit. So, which you can see now in my apple cinnamon pancake recipe video, if you want to hear where that has gone. So that's one lesson from one episode, but we'll talk about, I think it's the very first episode, and unfortunately this is another name that Warren is saying, Bong Bong. This universe is a sentient car universe, but unlike Cars, Disney Pixar's Cars, there are also people. So the police officer, whose name, I guess, is Rookie, because he's a rookie police officer, he doesn't have a partner. He has his police car.
Yeah, his partner is his car.
And that's not going to be great if he has any crime to solve within a building. All the crimes he solves are outside buildings. But what if, like, does the car just drive in like the Kool-Aid Man? Like, oh yeah, I'm here to stop a bank robbery. Like, it's a bad idea to have a car for your partner is all I'm saying.
Yeah, and they disagree a lot too. So it's like, we need to get this, like one of their plots is just like they disagree on where to go.
Yeah.
And it's like, so who's driving whom here?
The car's like, I'm a car. I know where I'm going. And the police officer's like, I have GPS on my iPad. I know where I'm going. And meanwhile, the criminal's just getting away. And it turns out that, like, in real life, you don't fight with your vehicle. So you just get to go where you need to go. And that presents another problem in both shows, the spinoff and the original, which is that they have these, quote, young vehicles, Tayo and the buses, and then Titipo, who are learning how to do their, quote, jobs. That's enough saying, quote, for me. But, like, if you build a train that isn't sentient, it just goes.
Yeah, so they're little, and so they act like children.
Yes.
And they have kind of children logic sometimes, and that's not what you want in a vehicle that's getting you somewhere. So on Titipo, this is one where I don't know if it was Titipo or a different train.
I didn't look up the train names, by the way. So you're just gonna have to
live
in wonder.
Make up your own.
Yeah,
yeah. Tweet us your own train names.
Yeah, there's a green freight train and I believe a pink girl train. She's also a passenger.
Her job
train.
Is girl. Freight is the guy's job.
Yeah. So there's two twin freight trains. They're orange, but they have different noses. And there's a Fix-It dude and Mr. Herb who. Is the conductor dude who tells them where to go.
Okay. So in one episode of Titipo, there was a sick person on their train.
A little girl, yeah.
A sick little girl on the train, and the doctor said, "You need to blow off all your stops and take us right to the hospital." And he was like, "Ooh, I don't know what to do. I get in trouble when I blow off my stops."
Yeah.
And I think they did the right thing in the end, and they just decided to just like get on through to the hospital. But it's just like you don't want your sentient train going like, "Well, I got in trouble last time." Geez, I don't know.
Yeah, there's another episode where Titipo is feeling ill in that I assume some parts of him are malfunctioning.
He's got trainitis.
He's got train virus, and he wants to tell one of the human characters about it, but the green freight train, whose name I will decide is Gumbo, decides to trick Titipo into thinking that going to get a checkup is a terrifying experience. I suppose because they want to teach the lesson that lying is bad and also going to the doctor when you feel sick is good.
Yeah, the doctor's there to help you, I think is the lesson.
Which I don't know if kids are going to get there since it's not a doctor appointment, it's a mechanic appointment, and that might be too allegorical for young minds.
Yeah, that might be a bit of a jump.
But that was the lesson. So he lies blatantly saying that it's incredibly painful to get a checkup, and then because of this, Titipo has the choice, because he has sentience, to not go and tell anybody that he's ailing, and so he gets stuck somewhere in the middle of the night and has no way of calling for help because one of the things that has gone wrong is his communicating radio thing is busted. And so he's just sitting there like crying, like, oh no, I can't get back to the train station and no one knows where I am. And that wouldn't happen if it were just a train. You would just be like, time for, a regular inspection.
Routine maintenance.
Yep. Then I don't know what Gumbo's punishment was in the end. They probably, made him do extra work or something like that. Again,
no, that would be impossible because you have the work. They have to love it because of just the way the show is. They can't
they have to do like extra runs or something like that. They don't actually all the time. I don't know. Sometimes they do and sometimes they don't. But what we have to talk about before we go back to Tayo is the tracks, which you pointed this out, and I love it. So the idea of a sentient car universe works out more or less because cars have a lot of variability in where they can go. Like, yes, they have to stay on roads, but roads turn and there's turnabouts and there's two-way roads.
They can go around each other and they can like park.
They can maneuver around each other. They
Yeah.
can park. But trains Now, stay with me here. Trains are on tracks. And if two trains want to talk to each other, the only way that's going to happen is that if they find two tracks that happen to run parallel. And sometimes many trains want to talk to each other, and they happen to exist in a world where there's sometimes just 8 train tracks running parallel so they can all chat. But the problem is that if there's only 2 tracks and 2 trains are chatting with each other going in the same direction, if a different train wanted to go in the other direction, they just wouldn't be able to. And I don't know why I'm saying this. You were the one who pointed it out to me.
No, you're doing that. That's perfect. It's just like the idea of anyone getting anywhere on these tracks successfully would just not work.
Yeah, not at all. And there's one episode where I'm going to change his name again. The freight train, who was formerly known as Gumbo and will now be named
Tom gets a signature from his favorite superhero, who is, I think, a real superhero. I can't remember now. This universe works on weird rules. We'll talk about Tayo going to space later. Yeah, he goes to space later. That solves a lot of their tracks problems when they just get jetpacks and just get out.
Well, that's Tayo. I don't know if...
Oh, man.
I don't know if Titipo ever goes to space. Thank goodness I don't know, because that means I haven't seen a lot of Titipo. But he wants an autograph, and the only way to give an autograph to a train is to sign the physical train.
Yeah, because they don't have like pads and paper and hands or anything.
Nope.
How does it get signed?
Exactly. So he
put a pen in his mouth.
Yeah. Well, so the superhero is a human.
Oh,
so the
right,
superhero gets
that.
a marker and signs him, but then he refuses to, quote, bathe. He refuses to go through the train wash because he doesn't want to wash the signature off of him.
Again, that's a lesson, I guess, but it's too much of a jump. Kids don't equate baths with train washes.
I mean, again, it's just the allegory. Can they get the subtle messaging here? So anyway, back to Tayo. So so that's the general issue with sentient car universes that exist with human beings, because I like this episode a lot. So I'm going to talk about this one. There is an episode where their big boss bus, who's apparently a double-decker, but he's just big. I don't know. It's unclear if these buses grow up. It's unclear in every single car show I've ever seen.
No, I think this one, the older bus, Cito.
I nearly did a spit take. You remembered his name?
I think I do.
No, that you're correct, because I have it on my... But you remembered his name.
So Cito, obviously,
We've seen this too many times.
They did do a flashback to when he was a little bus.
That's true.
And he was just the same size.
Okay. Yeah,
he
was
did
just
not
younger
he
acting.
did not get bigger.
Okay.
He was young. He was a younger, bigger bus.
Okay. So Cito was supposed to do a demonstration for a preschool class. Oh, I forgot about... No, sorry. So the main human characters in Tayo are Hana, who is... she's like a mechanic, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, so she's a mechanic, which, I mean, like, hey, cool making a woman mechanic, like breaking down gender stereotypes. I appreciate that, I guess. And then Rookie, who we talked about as a cop. I don't know if there are any other human characters that matter. I think that's pretty much it.
Yeah.
So Hana was supposed to take Cito to do a demonstration for a preschool class about vehicles, which sounds legit enough. I feel like preschoolers would learn about vehicles, which is more important than learning about farms, in my opinion, depending on where you live. I mean, the farmers still exist, I suppose. So the problem is that Cito is bus busy. I don't know what makes a I don't know what makes a bus busy.
I have too many bussings to do.
I have so much bus to do. Bus stuff. So they have to ask... Not the annoying one. I'm going to say Gani, because Lonnie's the girl. So the annoying one's green, so that's Rogi. And then Lonnie is the girl, and she's yellow. So that leaves... Okay, we'll get to the gender in a bit. So the red one then, because Tayo's blue. So the red one, Gani, has to fill in. But Gani is nervous. Now, the problem is that the demonstration at this preschool... Well, it's not at the preschool. They go to like a big demonstration lot, basically. Like
kind of like where you took your driver's test.
Yes, exactly. And the problem is that along with demonstrating what a bus does for this preschool, they're also demonstrating an ambulance and a fire truck. So they start by lighting a fake building on fire and showing the kids the fire truck putting out the fire, and then an ambulance showing up to, like, the teacher pretended to be an injured person and just like zooming in and like helping the injured person.
And then a bus.
And then action, yeah, so all action-y, right, with fire. I mean, like, stop right there, right? If you see a giant fire, you are hooked as a kid, right? And then they're like, okay, everybody done with this excitement? All right, cool. Now we're going to demonstrate what a bus does. I didn't even blame Gani for being like, oh, man.
Oh, man. I'm so upstaged right now.
I don't want to follow this act. So, but the thing is, so this is kind of like, I wanted to bring this up because this solidifies the problem with this. If we haven't driven home the point already, the problem with the sentient car universe. Ghani's nervous about doing bus stuff. Ghani's job is to drive to a fake bus stop, pick up Hana, I think, yeah, and then drive to the next fake bus stop, and let Hana leave. And Ghani is so nervous that he overshoots the bus stop and then screeches to a stop, bumping Hana's head in the process, I think, when she says, like, oh, you missed the stop. And then he starts to back up. And what I love is Rookie is there with his cop car partner. And he goes, no, Ghani, it's dangerous to back up at a bus stop. Like it's just like the over, like it's not like one of those spiky things where you can drive over them one way but not the other. Like there's nothing. It's a demonstration lot. Like there was no danger, but he's like throwing his arms out like, no, don't do it. Don't back up 2 feet.
He'll run over the imaginary bus passengers.
Yeah. And so he slams to a halt again, jostling Hana again, who's dead by this point, I assume. And he tries to let her off the bus himself. He tries to let her remove herself from his insides, like Cat Bus. And he can't figure out how to open his doors because he's so darn nervous. And you know what would happen is if it was just a bus with a bus driver, is none of that. It would have just been fine.
The kids still would have thought the bus part of the presentation was stupid.
Oh my God, I forgot about the kids. The kids were vicious. I mean, like, I don't blame them at all, but they started booing. They were like, this bus sucks. Bring back the fire truck. And again, I don't blame them, but man, the teacher was just like, yeah, go on, kids.
Yeah, we get it. The bus is kind of lame.
The teacher was demonstrating why Switzerland sucked for staying neutral during World War II. It's like, if you're not telling them to stop yelling at the bus, you're kind of giving them permission to yell at the bus. And so, yeah, so they were like booing, and that made Ghani worse, right? It was like, oh no, and I don't remember.
You're getting heckled, man.
That's right. So this is like the reading thing in Beauty and the Beast, right? If the reading thing is disparaged, it should have been brought back to save the day. The bus was being disparaged in this episode, so naturally the bus had to save the day in a way that a fire truck, police car, and ambulance could not. So the only thing they could think of was rain. So it starts raining.
And the fire truck can't hold all those kids.
Yeah. And they're like, oh no, we're getting wet. It's raining on us. Whatever will we do? And Ghani's like, I got this. And he drives up and he opens his doors and he says, get in, or something, I don't know. And they get into the bus where it's dry because buses have roofs. And he starts to drive them back. He starts to drive them back to their school, but the kids are scared because it's rainy and dark. So he turns on his interior lights, and then they're not scared anymore. I sound like I'm making this up, but how could I? I could never make anything like this up in a million years. If you said write an episode about a show about a bus that is alive, I would not come up with this.
Yeah, well, it saves the day.
And I want to say here, I really do, that I want to say that I found a lesson, but I have no idea. Okay, hold on. No, let's figure it out. Let's say it first so that we're kind of caught. I found a lesson. Now we have to do it.
Okay.
Ghani was not confident in his abilities because he was comparing himself to others who had different abilities.
That's true.
So, like,
they have different abilities. So, yeah, I mean,
be confident in what you can do, and don't compare yourself to others.
Don't compare yourself to others.
You have your own special talents, like interior lights and roofs.
And enough space for people.
Yeah, you can seat people. You are a passenger vehicle.
Yeah, and the fire truck can't do that. The ambulance can only hold a couple people.
And, yeah, I was going to say the ambulance can't really help people at all. Like, the ambulance isn't actually cool. Like, because the ambulance is just like, all right, now somebody with thumbs, get that person onto a stretcher.
Yeah, the ambulance themselves isn't really doing this. It isn't doing like the CPR, right?
They're just a vehicle. But also, I must say, a vehicle with a lot of room and a roof. So, and probably interior lights as well. So the ambulance probably could have done the same thing as the bus. But anyway,
there were a lot of kids.
Love yourself.
Yeah,
is what I'm saying.
And be proud of what you can do, and don't compare yourself to others.
Yes. Now I want to talk about Tony. I had to look up this name. I'm pretty sure I got it right. Tony is a delivery vehicle who likes to rap.
Yeah, let that sink in.
And it's not even like, it's not even rap, but like somebody from 1992 might be like, oh yeah, rap. Like if they heard this, they'd be like, oh, that sounds very familiar.
That's like the hip hop I've heard on the radio.
Yes, that rap music that all those kids are rapping to. Mm-hmm. And then they would drink their Capri Sun and be on their way.
They drink their Fruitopia and be on their way.
And then they would go down to the movie theater and
check the latest episode of Alf.
Yeah, and in the movie theater. And then they would use their cell phone that weighed 900 pounds to like call and order a pizza, which is weird. I just tell the rectangle in my hand, make pizza happen, and then it does. So anyway, enough making fun of 1992. I barely remember it. I was 1 year old for most of that year. So are there any other episodes like you want to probably talk about? Well, we were going to talk about the first episode and I don't even know how we got off of that, but Bong Bong. Mm-hmm. This is where we're going to talk about the cultural differences in like what people think it should go in kids shows, I suppose. And again, there really is no right or wrong answer among what we're talking about. Obviously there's right or wrong answers as in like there shouldn't be blood and guts and violence and curse words, but in this episode, which I believe is the first episode, a lot of things happen. There is a very nervous pickup truck with some boxes in the back. I don't remember why he's nervous. Maybe he has to go to the bathroom. And he does something. I don't know. And one of the boxes falls out of himself and lands on the road. And it's like a highway, like a bridge. So it's a busy road. Behind him is a car carrier carrying, as the narrator informs us, 4 baby cars, which, okay.
How do cars get born?
We've asked that before, and what makes them babies? Are they going to get bigger, suggested by the rest of the show? No. So are they just going to mentally get older? Like, I don't understand how this works, but they are baby cars. I think they were pleased with themselves because, like, you know, if you think of like a nanny being able to like pick up kids, like a car carrier makes sense.
Like, yeah.
So she's got 4 baby cars snoozing away in her car carrier part. It sounds so dirty, and it's just like, it's not. It's just weird. And she has to slam on the brakes to
avoid the box.
To stop because the box had landed right in front of her. And when she does that, the ramp becomes dislodged from its holding, the ramp that the cars would drive up, and it comes down, and one car who's still sleeping slides down that ramp and is left on the road when she the truck apologizes to her, and then she moves on. Now, this brings up the question of how much do cars feel?
Yeah.
Because she did not notice that a part of her had come loose and she'd become approximately 1,000 pounds lighter.
A different episode, a bad child uses a marker on the inside of a bus.
Yes.
And the bus gets tickled.
Yes.
So I imagine that they must have some sort of feeling.
They have nerve endings, for sure.
They have feeling. So you would think you would notice.
Maybe she just, maybe she was just so surprised that, she didn't feel something. I mean, that happens, right? When you experience shock, like you might not feel pain right away.
Yeah, well, yeah. So like the whole like stopping quickly was so jarring that they didn't feel it, I guess. Well, we're making too many excuses.
Right. So anyway, this car has been left behind. The narrator, I think, informs us that the car's name is Bong Bong. Probably an onomatopoeia. I don't know. Yeah. And car carrier goes on her way. You know what else happens is the other cars wake up and start crying. That probably distracts her a lot as well. When you got 3 crying cars on your truck,
the
ramp, then you got your ramp full, man. You just can't think of anything else. So Bong Bong just stays asleep in the middle of the road. Meanwhile, here comes Tayo. Tayo's really enjoying the lovely sights with his brain that he has somewhere, and then he sees a car stopped in the middle of the road and thinks that they're in trouble, right? Because a car only stops in the middle of a busy road if they're in trouble. So he pulls up alongside and is like, hey, what's going on? And then notices that Bong Bong's asleep. So he wakes up Bong Bong, and I think Bong Bong's going to start crying because he's a baby car. It turns out Bong Bong can just talk. Bong Bong's like, hey, who are you? And Tayo's like, I'm Tayo. And the car goes, hey, I'm Bong Bong. And I'm like, oh, well, this is going to get a lot easier because Tayo can't get a smaller car inside of him. Like, that's beyond his abilities.
They do have, like, the weird grabby things they use sometimes.
Sometimes, yes.
They have, like, extendo latches.
That's just so they can sell extendo latches to kids.
Geez, they're not good looking, though. No. It's not a good look.
No, it's not. So Tayo...
Kind of like the mouth from Alien.
Yes. Tayo decides to escort Bong Bong around town. I don't know if they're looking for his nanny truck or if
I think, you find a lost baby, you just sort of like
take it
and like just like I'll keep it safe, I guess, until someone figures something out.
Right. So they're going around town, and then there's a red light, and Bong Bong keeps on going his merry way, and Tayo has to yell, "No, Bong Bong, stop!" And Bong Bong slams on the brakes, and Tayo's like, "You don't know the rules of the road yet." And I'm like, is that what makes him a baby car? He doesn't know the rules of the road? You know what would help avoid that is if he didn't have sentience and instead someone was driving him. But whatever. So Bong Bong needs to learn the rules of the road. So Tayo teaches him the rules of the road and how red lights work and stuff. Then they go back to the bus garage, which is where they all live, and introduce Bong Bong to the three friends, and they're instantly having a lot of fun, and this is where the fart dance comes in. And so what we were talking about kind of off camera, so to speak, off mic, is there are cultural differences in what can be talked about and shown depending on where you are in the world for a kids show. So for instance, in Japan, if you're featuring a baby or very small child, male child, we'll say, cis male child, showing their genitals is okay in a cartoon. I don't know if they would do it in live action, but I've only seen it in like anime, because I think that they have like less body shame there. Like they do onsen things where it's like women bathe naked with other women and men bathe naked with other men. And so they have less body shame, and they know everybody knows what a baby looks like. So they don't feel any shame about that. Whereas that's very heavily censored in American TV. So in South Korea, I don't know how common it is because I haven't been and I haven't watched a lot of South Korean television, to make fart jokes in a kid's show. For us, a fart joke might happen in The Simpsons. It might happen in Ren and Stimpy. But like in the equivalent like kids preschool show, like Dora the Explorer is not about to start farting, right?
Yeah, so I'd say it's probably like kind of 8 or 10 plus,
right,
where they would start doing fart jokes. But if you're watching, I don't know, I can't think of one off the top of my head. Blue's Clues.
Yeah, they're not going to do
Sesame Street. They're not going to talk about...
Sesame Street's a good equivalent for sure. So they're not going to talk about gas. So what happens is Tayo decides to amuse Bong Bong by farting, shave, and a haircut, basically. Just like boop, 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 and is farting the whole time and dancing. Out of his exhaust pipe, obviously, because I think the one thing that buses probably can do is fart. And then they have Bong Bong imitate it, and he does it as well. And they're all like laughing together, and it's amusing. And again, like, as you can see from many, we'll say unsophisticated jokes in movies and TV shows, we find farts funny, but they're typically teenager to adult level like joke in our cinema and in our TV. Yeah. But for this, it was like so normal to them. I was like, it made me think like about the cultural differences, and like we clearly in South Korea and America find farts funny, right? But to them, it seemed like it was an amusement rather than something to be kind of like ashamed about, I guess, because we show a lot of shame in our censorship here. I
guess like I'm thinking like it's kind of like a humiliation or like a dressing down. So like some pompous person, and then there's a fart in the room, and they're like, like. Rather than just like kids having a good time farting, know.
This would be a good time for me to talk about the fart test. But before we get there, tune back in next time for the fart test. I don't know, maybe we'll just split this into 2 episodes. We've almost talked for an hour already anyway. But in Titipo, they find Mr. Herb to be in a bad mood. Mr. Herb is grumpy, and all of the trains, including Gumption and Gordon and Titipo and Eric, I think one of them is just named Eric. All the baby trains are like, oh no, what's wrong with Mr. Herb? And they're all speculating, right? They're all speculating, oh, maybe it's because I forgot to do my route, right? Or, again,
they all think it's one of their faults.
Yes. Yeah. And again, because they have brains, they can just forget to do their route, which is probably bad. And the girl train, we'll get there. We really have to talk about how trains and cars don't need girl boy, right? Like that's, but the girl train thinks that he's upset because he's embarrassed because while he was just giving her some instructions the other day, he just tooted like right in front of her. just let out a fart, and we saw it in her flashback.
Yeah, they showed us the memory of. She said, "Well, maybe he's grumpy and upset because he's embarrassed that he just totally let one loose in front of me."
And that's another layer that we have to talk about, because that indicates that they do think farts are embarrassing, right? But the audience is probably supposed to laugh at it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's like they recognize they're really not supposed to fart in pleasant company, right? But like at the same time, they're still using it as kind of a joke for kids. So it seems to they're a little bit more fast and loose with that. They're just like, yeah, farts can happen in kids' shows. So the thing is, though, that this man was embarrassed about farting in front of a train, and I just don't think trains would care.
Well, in truth, he wasn't embarrassed, because that's not why he was upset.
That wasn't even why he was upset. Yeah, he was like, oh, it happens all the time. You know?
And he wasn't embarrassed at all, actually. It was a toothache.
Yes, he had a toothache that made him very grumpy. But they wrote a song for him in that episode.
To cheer him up, that's right. To cheer him up,
and it was basically like a music video, and it was awful. I believe
depends on what you. It was pretty bad, but so bad it was
so
kind of
good. It was good. I think there were rapping ones in that too. They have these not construction vehicles, but repair vehicles.
Yeah, for like a train gets derailed,
yes.
They have like safety repair vehicles.
One of them, I think, is on like a road vehicle. It has tires, and the other one, I think, is on the track itself. And they work together to kind of like clear track obstructions or get trains, back on the track.
Talk about them a little bit.
Yeah. Do you? Okay. Yeah. All I wanted to say is I think that they are known around town as the like rapping duo or something, and they were the ones who the trains called on to help them compose their "I'm sorry, we heard you fart, Mr. Herb" song, and then it was like "We love you, Mr. Herb" song and whatever. But I don't know. I don't even remember their names. You want me to look them up?
I don't remember their names. You can try and look them up.
Okay.
While I'm talking, but yeah. Okay. So they're always singing and having a great time, apparently. And so Titipo gets, I think it's Titipo, one of the trains gets jealous that they're always going off at all hours of the night. They don't have a bedtime, always having a great time. And so I think he says, I'm going to follow you around.
Yeah.
And I don't know if this is a sanctioned event, but basically it's like a take your kid to work day. Titipo just gets to go with them. And it's true. They are kind of like jiving off of each other and having a good time. But it turns out that they just do that to keep their spirits up because their job is terrible. And like we learned this, it was like they get to stay up at all hours of the night. No, they have to get up at all hours of the night because that's when the problems are. And they're just having a good time because they like each other and they like each other's company. But it turns out their job is quite grueling, and
he thinks they have it so easy.
He thinks they have it so easy, and they're having so much fun. But really, they're just like.
This happens in Tayo as well when he meets that wizard car that grants his wish to be older.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Again, I wish I was making this up.
I wish you were making this up, too.
He aids a mysterious elderly car who's having tire trouble or engine trouble, and she, I think, again, pronouns don't matter, their vehicles, says like, what is one wish you would have? And he's like, to be older so I don't have to like go to bed at a bedtime. And then he learns that being an adult isn't so good because you have responsibilities. And we've done enough lessons in this episode, so just guess that one for yourselves. Unfortunately, because I'm looking up these construction vehicles, I found the other vehicles' names. You can rename them though. The girl train, her name is Jeannie. The boy train, whom we've named Tom and Gumbo and Gumption and whatever, his name is Diesel. A bit unimaginative of his train parents, but whatever. Loco is a friendly yellow locomotive. Fix and Lift, that's their names.
Fix and Lift.
They're even listed together because you never see them separately. So they're listed together on the wiki. Our duo of yellow breakdown vehicles who love to sing and have a very hip personality, but are always ready in case of emergency. Fix is a rail-mounted crane locomotive, while Lift is a road rail forklift.
Okay, Fix and Lift.
And they are definitely in love, and I love it.
Yeah, they do really have a good chemistry with each other, and they do enjoy each other's company, but it turns out that getting up at all hours of the night and singing doesn't necessarily mean that your job is fun.
Now, I also want to point out that sometimes they're like, their names should be Titipo and Jeannie, and other times they're like, their name should be Craney, because they're a crane. And it's like, hold on now. The crane doesn't deserve to be named Eric. Like there's a train named Eric, So sometimes it's like it's Fix and Lift, which I kind of like because it's like what workmen might like nickname each other. You know what I mean?
That could be like a nickname.
It's like a camaraderie thing, but then it's like Craney, Boom Boom, and it's like what? Okay, but then there's Manny and Bernie who are twin freight trains, and the episode where they're introduced, people are like, I forget. I think it's like they think they're meeting Manny, and they're like, Manny's so tough. But then they see like Manny enjoying flowers, and they're like, but Manny is not tough. And they get very confused until they learn they're twins. And it's like, yeah, you're vehicles, but you should understand that like multiples of you
mass
are made.
production.
Yeah, it's not actually uncommon to see vehicles that look the same. But, anyway,
the lesson there is that you shouldn't assume that people aren't twins.
Yeah. Anyway, we got off the first episode of Tayo topic.
Really fast.
Yeah. So anyway, in case you were really worried about Bong Bong, this is what happens. I love this. So the car carrier, I'm sure she has a name, but I don't care. Okay.
Her name's Carrie?
Her name's Carrie.
Okay.
It's okay. Again, these are all English language. I don't know what their names are in Korean. I mean, I guess if Tayo means ride, then maybe they also have punny names in the Korean version, but I'm only talking about the English version. So her name is Carrie because she carries cars. Oy vey. Okay. So Carrie is driving along, happy as a peach, and Gani and Lonnie drive up, I think, or two of the other cars. I know Lonnie's there for sure. The yellow one and possibly the green one or the red one drive up, and they're like, oh, hi, how are you? And she's like, I'm doing great. And then at some point in the conversation, they go, wow, it's really cool how you can carry 3 cars like that. And she's like, yes, it is. Did you say 3? And they're like, yeah, 2 up top and 1 on the bottom. And she's like, oh no. And she's just like U-turns the heck out of that situation and like nearly causes an accident. She's like, I left a baby on the highway. And she goes searching frantically. And I think Rookie and Bobo, I don't know what the police car's name is.
Rookie and
Jerry.
I want to know now.
Yeah, well, yeah, they show up and try to help her, and they're like, "Hold on, calm down. Everything will be fine."
Because nothing can be.
Yes, because nothing can't be. That's true. We're in a kids show, honey. It's fine. After all that, oh wait, you don't know that there's an after all that. We just spent like 10 minutes searching, and Rookie isn't even listed on the wiki. I felt gaslit for a second because I was like, wait, what if Rookie's not even in this show? But he is. He's in Tayo.
He's in Tayo.
But yeah.
And if we cared, we could update the Wikipedia.
Yeah,
but we
no.
don't.
The police car may or may not have a name. Oh, I suppose I could watch an episode and find out. Maybe I'll do that later. Listen for the after the credits scene where I tell you.
Don't do that to yourself. Just don't.
Yeah. No, I mean, I would just be like, the police car's name is. So they find Carrie and they're like, no. And then for some reason, they're like, Carrie, you haven't eaten. Let's go to the gas station. You got to take care of yourself before you can find the kid. Yeah. And then they, for some reason, go back to the bus stop. I don't know why. Just because
there's only 4 locations.
Yeah, the episode had to end. And they find Bong Bong, and she's like, oh, Bong Bong. And then he's like, hey, Carrie. And there's a happy reunion that I guess is supposed to melt our hearts and bring tears to our eyes. And then...
Oh, you didn't cry for hours after that one? I cried for hours.
Oh, the first time, yes, absolutely. Yeah. But we watched it so many times.
Yeah.
And I had to comfort you, and you were just...
It was huge. You were ugly humiliating.
Crying. Yeah. We were in the market, and he's just burst into tears again.
Well, why was I watching it on my phone? I don't know.
No, it was just the memory of it.
Oh, okay.
Really took you, and you just cried all over the fish section. Anyway.
The fish was the same color as Bong Bong.
Right. Everything reminds me of Bong Bong. I still can hear his little farts. Anyway, they have a happy reunion, but then she's like, all right, get in the back, Bong Bong. And he's like, no. And she's like, no.
I fell out, and I really don't trust you anymore.
I know, right? Carrie would have broke down in tears. Am I doing a good Carrie? I feel like I'm doing a good
I think you're nailing it.
Yeah. I should have been a voice actor. Oh, I kind of am when those audio dramas come out. Anyway. So he's like, no, I don't want to. And she's like, well, why not? And he's like, I like driving by myself. And she's like, you can't do that. And Tayo's like, actually, I taught him the rules of the road. It was fairly easy. It took me an hour. You should probably just do that for all the cars, don't you think?
Then you wouldn't have a job.
Yeah, that's true. And so she's like, okay. And so Tayo's like, why don't you show her by driving with her that you know what to do? And Bong Bong's like, well, I see you again, Tayo. And Tayo's like, of course, come visit anytime. And it kind of seemed like those things where it's like, they say that, but you'll never see Bong Bong again. There was just like a little thing at the end of the episode, like, and then Bong Bong was never seen or heard from again. But no, he does come back once. So that's interesting that he actually did make good on that promise. Like, you can come visit anytime. The last thing I'll talk about is not this related. It is writing related. I came up with this. I don't remember how. It was Disney movie related, but it's something I call the fart test. And my creative writing students are the only ones I've ever told about it, like in a professional nature, I suppose. And the fact of the matter is that I tell them, like, it's okay to laugh. It's okay to feel uncomfortable. That's kind of the point, is that the word fart alone makes us feel a little, at least again in America, right? And it's a relationship test. And I told them that it was mainly for like romantic relationships, but they did point out that it's for, it could work for friendship too. And basically the test is this: is the relationship genuine? And the question you have to ask is, can you imagine these two characters farting in front of one another? Because
life is long.
Yeah. and you can't always hold it.
And if you're with each other for a very long time, you got to get more comfortable with just regular stuff.
And you're going to draw some conclusions about a relationship, and we can't stop you. So anyway, let's just say we passed that test. But it's true. And so I'll tell them, like, look at how uncomfortable you are just talking about it, right? So you'd have to feel very comfortable with someone to fart in front of them. Like, you'd have to trust them completely. And they're like, oh, yeah. And I go, let's do this. And I always use Disney movies as an example, not only because I am a huge Disney fan, unfortunately, but because they're typically more people have seen them than not. And so I'll ask, like, do you think that Belle and the Beast would fart in front of each other from the cartoon? And most would say no. Some would say eventually, right? And then I said, how about Aladdin and Jasmine? And then the usual consensus is Aladdin would, Jasmine wouldn't. I can't tell if they're just like sexist because men are the farters, or it's more just kind of like a classist because he's lower class and therefore wouldn't hold it in.
Yeah, he's just like, whatever.
But also because Aladdin and Jasmine have more personality. You have to face it. They do have personality.
Yep.
And then I say, how about Kristoff and Anna? And it's a resounding yes every time.
Yeah.
Right? Because Kristoff and Anna from Frozen have a genuine relationship in Frozen 1. And you can tell. And so if you thought about it for a second, even Anna, you could be like, yeah, she'd get there eventually.
Yeah.
Like, and so
they get like used to each other.
Yeah. And so it is actually a really good relationship test. And I think also Hiccup and Astrid passed that test as well. So I thought that was an interesting tidbit. If you're writers, I would ask you to think about that for your own characters. Would they fart in front of each other?
Would they ever be like comfortable with each other, or is it just like an infatuation that has to be a fake version of an imagination of somebody?
For me, I get to slide by because Hellbound is about immortal characters for the most part. And it's like, if you live for 300 years, eventually you're going to fart in front of everybody. I don't think you're going to start caring.
At some point it becomes your mission.
You're like, I got to fart in front of every person on Earth at least once.
It's like you got to have a goal with all that time.
Yeah, so I can just be like, oh yeah, eventually. I guess I'm giving too much away about this book, but whatever. I mean, it shouldn't be a surprise that everything works out in the end. This is a young adult romance. Not that I haven't read young adult romances that end with tragedy, and I've hated those authors, and I've wanted to tear their hearts out of their chests because I read young adult romances for love and not reality. I said, well, I'll have to put a car horn honk.
Gosh darn it.
Gosh darn it. Anyway, I don't know. There's so much more to talk about, but how could people even care, given that they probably haven't seen the show and they really shouldn't?
when you cut it down, and if you have like a good 30-minute chunk and you've got like 20 minutes left, just like we'll sit down and do like a quick 10 minutes more and make another episode out of it.
Yeah. So let us know if you want us to talk about this show. There's so many other things that we haven't even gotten to, including the fact that they go to space to fight aliens, which are also trucks somehow, and the fact that they think there's a ghost and are very scared of it, despite what the intro music says, and tons of stuff. We haven't even got into like the sports cars that like to break road rules and put everybody in danger. So let's end this on a segment we haven't done in a long time. Would you recommend this for children? What do you think about this show?
Ooh, I think that there might be specific episodes I'm fine with, but honestly, it's a little bit too, especially when they get to the angry trucks in space and flying.
First season or two.
Okay,
maybe.
yeah, maybe first season or two, but it does.
It gets weird.
It gets weird, and it gets to the point where it's just like, I think it might be too scary for some little kids.
For
and
sure.
I think it might just be not a good recommend.
Yeah, and also the voice actors change like tissues. Like they change every single one of them. And it's like, if you get familiar with the voices, then you're just like, wait, who is that now? I will say not Titipo. Titipo's voice, I think I did an imitation of Titipo's voice in a previous episode, didn't I? And like, it's so, they were like sound cute and youthful. And the voice actor is like this? Oh boy, I'm a train. And it's like, I can't listen to that for 30 seconds, let alone like half an hour. What the heck? What were you doing? And so don't watch Titipo. Don't let your kids watch Titipo. Plus the intro song to Titipo will live in your insides and spleen forever. But Tayo, I mean, if your kid likes buses, and fire trucks, because...
And Warren loves
it.
The helicopter episode.
I thought you were going to say Warren loves the hell out of it. Yes, the helicopter episode with the helicopter named Air. We haven't even talked about Air. Okay, if you want us to do a mini episode, like middle of the week about Air, you let us know. But it's at Not Again Pod. You guys know this already. So, yeah. I think the first season's fine. I would skip the episode where the mother and young boy get trapped in a burning house, even though it works out in the end.
That's a little too real.
I feel awful watching it, and I'm an adult. But I think that of all the things Warren's watched, it's harmless enough. I would, between this and Super Wings, definitely Tayo.
Yeah.
So that's my thing. Okay. Thank you for going on this journey with us, friends. If you're still with us, don't forget to wait till the after the credit scene to find out what Rookie's police car's name is. Thank you for listening. Thank you for existing. Thank you for helping us to maintain our marbles for just one more week, and also for being patient this week as the episode is late. And we will catch you next time, where we're going to talk about Bluey. I've already watched some episodes of it, and I've got some stuff to say. All of our support sites are down in the description.
Yeah.
Leave us a 5-star rating and or review if you feel saucy, sassy, or fancy and kind. We'd appreciate it. Have a good day. Bye, friends.
Bye.
Pat! His name is Pat! Oh my God! His name is Pat. Okay. There. Aren't you glad you stayed for the after the credits now? I Googled it.